This is Mark Bell from SuperTraining.tv, Super Training Gym, the strongest gym in the West, answering more questions today for the Power Project. Also, peeps, don't forget to subscribe to Power Magazine. Go on thepowermagazine.com and pick up the digital issue, and you'll have it nearly right away. You can get it within 24 hours, 48 hours, something like that, and you have access to it, and you'll be able to read inside of here a bunch of awesome articles, but about a 4 or 5 page interview that I do with John Kiefer talking about carbohydrate backloading and carbonite, which I'm getting tons of questions about every single day. So use that as a resource. John Kiefer writes in there every single issue. Also have Derek Poundstow writing in there every issue, along with some of the best power lifters in the world. Anyway, we got a question to answer here for the Power Project. Get one from Kyle Hendricks, and this is a good question. Kyle was listening to a thingy from Louis Simmons about the conjugate system, and Lou talks about power lifters using 50 to 60% of their max in 3-week waves. Week 1 they do 50%, week 2 they do about 55%, and week 3 they utilize about 60% on dynamic effort day. And again, the point of dynamic effort day is to produce as much force as possible. Then Lou goes on to say, just keep in mind, I'm not Louis Simmons. I'm not getting I'm not answering this question through him or anything like that. So if you want stuff directly from Louis Simmons, buy his book, Westside Barbell Book of Methods, off of westsidebarbell.com. Or read some of his articles off of his website. But this is my opinion of what he said. So here we go. For people who don't wear gear, it's going to be a much higher percentage, 75 to 85%. Lou says this in a video called Louis Simmons on the Conjugate System. You can look it up on Facebook or on YouTube or whatever. And he says it about 3 minutes 45 seconds into the conversation, and this guy Kyle is confused about. Louis starts to talk about Olympic lifters, and this guy's wondering if I could clarify it, whether he's talking about ungeared power lifters or ungeared Olympic lifters. I remember watching that clip, although it was a little while ago. I'll just tell you this. On dynamic effort day, you want to move fast, but you don't want it to be easy. So fast and having the weights be moderately light does not make the dynamic effort day easy. The dynamic effort day should be actually fairly difficult because you're going for execution. You want excellent execution. Remember Bret the Hitman Hart in the WWE? They used to say it was the excellence of execution. That's what you're trying to do on a dynamic day. You're trying not to just practice. You're trying to practice perfectly and do the reps so they look the same every single time for all 10 sets of 2 reps. And you're trying to be fast. The intent, the goal of the day is to be fast and to produce as much force as possible. Force is mass times acceleration. Now, some of these geared lifters and some of these more advanced lifters will actually use a lower percentage. I know that can sometimes be confusing, but with a lower percentage, some of these more experienced lifters can produce tremendous amounts of force, even upwards and above what their actual max is. So they may take, let's just say, I'll try not to confuse it too much. Let's say they have 500 pounds on the bar, and they have 200 pounds of band tension, so it's 700 pounds at the top. With 700 pounds at the top and 600 at the bottom, they can put so much force into that it equates out to be, over 1,000 pounds of force. And maybe their best squat is 1,000 pounds. And let's just say, for argument's sake, they're producing 1,025, something like that. So you're going to be able to sometimes put more force into the bar when you have less weight. It's force times acceleration, right? Force is mass times acceleration. So now with this guy saying, that Lou's recommending 75 to 85%. I would get off of the percentages for a second. And if you're a raw lifter or you're geared lifter, whatever you are, I would start with 50% of my best squat or my best box squat. If you don't know what it is, do a box squat that day on your dynamic day. Work up, go nearly as heavy as you can. Get into the 90-95% range. Doesn't have to be all out 100%. And from there, take half of that weight. Cut that weight in half right there on the spot and start your dynamic effort stuff. And the next week, you won't have to take the max again. You can just start. Start fresh. But we always recommend, Jesse Burdick and myself, when we do these seminars, we always suggest everyone just uses 50% at first. 50% more often than not is too light. But it's a good starting spot. What's the big rush? There's no hurry. It'll just count as an extra warm-up rather than an actual working set. So if you do 50%, you're like, that was garbage. That was so easy. That was ridiculous. If you feel that way, then add about 20 pounds. See how that feels. If that doesn't slow you down enough, add another 20 pounds. Now I'm saying slow you down enough, and now you're starting to go, wait a second, I thought you said we have to move fast. Well, you have to move fast, but again, it shouldn't be without effort. It shouldn't be without strain. It shouldn't be without producing a lot of force and without putting a lot of violence into the barbell. So it can be confusing sometimes. That's why we always suggest 50% and then work your way up. More often than not, raw lifters are going to find themselves in the 70 to 80% range, sometimes even a little bit higher. So in this instance, I believe Louis was referring to powerlifters. I think he was talking about raw powerlifters. So that's something to consider. Just one more note on the dynamic effort day. It is common for lifters to be able to produce more force with moderate loads than it is for them to produce more force with heavier loads. Once you get to 95%, the weight starts to slow down so much that you can no longer produce as much force. So that's kind of the point of the dynamic effort day, is that you're trying to produce as much force as you can. You're teaching your body to become more explosive. You're teaching your body to accelerate. When you sit on that box, the next thing to do, the objective is to get the hell off of that box as explosively and as under control as you can be. And that is it from supertraining.tv. Later.